Hello, and welcome back to the Caramel Sportscast. I'm your host, Steven Navalos, alongside my dad
Hello.
and my good friend Marissa.
Hi.
And today we're going to go over our picks for week 6, but first we're going to talk about baseball.
Yeah, my two teams that I picked, the A's and the Padres, they were homer picks. The A's more than the Padres. I like the Padres because when the A's play them, they seem to be an incredible team, pitching and hitting. Um, but they are both out now,
Yep.
both losing in the second round of the playoffs.
And now we're in the third round, the championship series for the AL and NL. For the AL, we got the Tampa Bay Rays against the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Atlanta Braves. So the picks I got this series, I got the Tampa Bay Rays beating the Houston Astros, which they're already up on them 3-0. Hopefully they can get the sweep on them.
That's 3 games, nothing, right?
Yes.
Okay, no score. Okay.
And for the Dodgers and Braves, I got the Dodgers winning that one, even though they are down 2-0. They are winning by a lot. I believe it's like 15-1 in the fifth inning. And Rissa, what are your picks?
Yeah, so when I first made my picks, I picked the Rays and the Dodgers to go to the World Series, so that's what I'm going to stick with. I don't want the Astros to make it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants the Astros to make it, considering the cheating scandal that went on.
Unless they're from Houston. I even actually gotten some comment arguments with people like in like threads on Instagram where it's like I'm just like I can't believe they did this and like a Houston fan just came up to me and even went to an old post of mine on my personal account from 2017 where I was talking about a signature from Marcus Semien. Already told Marissa about this whole thing. So I was sending messages like, oh my god, this guy went to my account. He's like, oh yeah, like, what job? We beat you guys. That's why you guys are trash. It's just, I found it kind of funny. Like, I was trying to come back with some stuff like, oh yeah, I can't wait for you guys to lose and all that. But that looks like it's gonna happen.
Well, they're getting their ass kicked this series, so hopefully they'll be done tonight.
Yeah, and I hope that guy's messages are still there, because usually people will try to delete them when they're wrong.
Yeah, on to the NFL.
Yep. So for our picks of week 6, right now, actually we're gonna go into our records. So last week I went 10-4 straight up, 8-6 against the spread. Marissa went 11-3 straight up, 7-7 against the spread.
You don't have to go over mine. I think.
For you,
like
you went 8-6 straight up and 7-7 against the spread.
I said I didn't want you to say that.
But the people must know.
Yeah, they found out. Thank you.
So our overall records, I am 56-20-1 straight up, 45-30-2 against the spread. Marissa, she started a week later than us. She is 42-18-1 straight up and 30-30-1 against the spread. Dad, you are 48-28-1 straight up and 44-31-2 against the spread.
Somewhat respectable still.
Yeah.
I take that. Considering all these other pundits you see, sport experts have much worse records than ours, actually.
Yeah, we were checking ours against people from Bleacher Report. We actually were better than them against the spread, which it is hard to choose against the spread.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a better record, but either way, let's get to our picks.
We got Denver at New England. New England is giving up 9 points. Denver is 1-3. New England is 2-2.
So there was a little bit of fiasco with the Patriots having a few positive tests with Cam Newton, Gilmore, and then another unnamed player, and I think a coach as well, which canceled the game, but postponed it to the next week. So they're going to be playing in New England, 10 o'clock. For this one, it looks like the Denver Broncos are also going to get Drew Lock back. Cam Newton showed up at practice, which is a good sign for them. No news on Gilmore yet. What you got? I really want to go with New England here, especially if Cam Newton is back and on the spread as well, because Cam Newton it really shows how much the offense depends on him to do well, showing how bad they were against Kansas City. Their offense could not do anything with Jared Stidham or Ryan Hoare, especially when they got to the red zone. Just their red zone management was so bad, especially on Hoyer's end.
Yeah, but we got to go. Red zone management has nothing to do with whether Cam Newton was there or not.
Well, what you got? Brian Hoare taking a sack and also getting the ball stripped away from him on 2 different drives. That affects you because Cam Newton isn't gonna be that silly with the football.
He was serviceable. That's about it.
I thought he was awful. But with Cam Newton back, they're gonna be much better. Denver's still hurt on both sides of the football, so I'm gonna go New England to win and cover.
Yep, I'm going New England winning and covering.
What was that?
New England winning and covering.
Okay. Okay. Um, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know much at all about Denver. They're getting locked back, but 9 points is a lot. I am going with New England, but Denver to cover. Next game, we have Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Cleveland is giving up 3.5 points. Cleveland is 4-1. The surprise Cleveland Browns 4-1 against 4-0 Pittsburgh.
All right, so Pittsburgh here, they are 4-0, but the thing for me that like doesn't want to go with them here is that they have only been bad teams so far, and they haven't beaten them by a whole lot. Philadelphia, really bad team. Philadelphia almost made a comeback against them. They ended up pulling out of it. Chase Claypool getting 4 touchdowns and over 100 yards.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Houston Texans only lost by 7. The Denver Broncos, who lost Drew Lock mid-game, I think in the first quarter, only lost by 5. And then against the New York Giants, they only beat them by 10. So, they're beating bad teams when they should, but it's not by enough. And I just don't think I could take them seriously enough to beat Cleveland, who has been on a great roll so far.
I like Cleveland a lot. I think Mayfield is getting into a little bit of groove this year. They play better teams than Pittsburgh. I'm taking Pittsburgh. I'm taking Cleveland for the upset. So I'm taking them to cover as well. I think the old man's going to get beat up a little bit. Old man beating Roethlisberger. So I'm taking Pittsburgh. Cleveland for the upset.
The Cleveland Steelers and the Pittsburgh Browns.
Yeah.
All right, who are you going with, Marissa?
I'm actually going to take Pittsburgh for this one, but I do have Cleveland covering. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Cool take?
No, hot take.
Hot pick. Oh, that's your hot pick. You're announcing it right now.
Your lock?
No, that's not my lock.
A hot pick. You heard it here, folks.
But yeah, in case I wasn't clear already, I'm going with Cleveland to win here, so they will cover since they're not favored.
I think you were clear.
Okay.
Next, we got Chicago at Carolina. Carolina is giving up 2.5 points to the 4-1 Bears. Carolina is 3-2.
When I was writing my picks last night, there was definitely a few that I had trouble making, and this was one of them. Carolina has definitely performed much better than expected. Now, they started 0-2, losing to the Raiders and Bucks, but they've gone on the 3-game winning streak since then. They helped me get my upset of the week by beating the Falcons. Chicago's going to be a hard match for them. A lot of people say Chicago was undeserving of being 4-1. But we do have to say they know how to come back into games. And what does you always say about good and bad teams? Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. And
Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. Case in point. And so Chicago here, Nick Foles, he hasn't been completely consistent so far, but he did beat Brady last week, although Brady didn't know what down it was. He was like, huh? What?
Yeah, anybody watched that game had to be shocked with the way he was acting after the game, thinking he still had one more down.
Oh, yeah. If you're a New England fan, you've got to feel bad for him, and you're a Bucs fan, you got to be ripping your hair out.
Yeah, because that was
pretty
bad. Pretty bad.
His age was showing.
I like Chicago, obviously with the points and to upset Carolina. Carolina is on a roll, but I think Chicago's got a little bit better defense.
I'm going to go with Carolina on this one. I just have a feeling Bridgewater's going to continue to play well. Sure, this defense is a challenge, but I think Carolina's defense is going to shine here. I just have a feeling, the defense hasn't been that great, but I think they've held teams to under 20 in their last 3 games. So that could be really big going against a mediocre offense such as Chicago.
Atlanta didn't get 20 points?
No, actually, Atlanta was held to 16 points. And
Wow.
Carolina did get a red zone interception, which is really nice. You always want to get something like that.
Marissa?
Yeah, I have Chicago winning and covering this one. I think just because of how they played last week, maybe they'll carry that into this game.
All right, go on to the next one.
We got Baltimore at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is getting 7.5 points. Baltimore's 4-1. Philadelphia is 1-3-1.
This one's a pretty easy one to make. Baltimore has been cruising through so far in the season. Did get stopped by the Kansas City Chiefs, and their offense hasn't been great as we expected them to be. Especially on a fantasy perspective. You have Lamar Jackson. He hasn't gone 15 or over, I think, in his last 3 games. I think he's most has gone into is 15. But either way, Philly's defense is not good. They should have a fun time with them. Philadelphia, they will try to make it fun a little bit, but I just think Baltimore's defense is gonna just trample them, especially the way they did with the Cincinnati Bengals. That was just a complete embarrassment.
It was almost like they were saying to Burrows, "You ain't gonna do nothing today," and you know what he did? Nothing. Yeah, that's what he was saying a lot. Anyway, I like Baltimore as well. I think it'll be a landslide.
Yeah, I'm going on a landslide here too with Baltimore, and someone here is sweating.
I have Baltimore winning, yes, but I actually have Philadelphia covering just because I feel like it's gonna be a close game. Maybe, I don't know.
You think Wentz will make it close?
Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe another hot take.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Last week you had some really good picks last week.
Yeah.
You had a much better week than me. So for me to say anything anyway is moot. Next game we got Cincinnati at Indianapolis. Indianapolis is giving up 7.5 points. Cincinnati is 1-4. Indianapolis is 3-2.
All right, so for this one here, I'm using Indianapolis on this. They have a really good defense still. The only reason why I think, not the only reason, but a big reason why they lost to the Browns last week was because Phillip Rivers just wasn't that good. He threw a couple picks, one of them going back for 6, and just not really good look on his part. But Frank Reich, their head coach, said they're still going to go with him all the way. I don't see much of a problem in that. Rivers, he's still not really that great of a quarterback to me. I think for the Colts to succeed in the future, you're going to have to draft a quarterback. They can't sign a veteran like they just did.
You don't have any idea who his backup is?
The Jacoby Brissett.
Okay.
I think he's still a pretty good quarterback too. He's much more mobile.
He's young.
And he doesn't have the same arm as him, but I think he's still pretty good. But either way, they are going to go with Rivers here. But I think the defense is going to stomp out Burrow. You got to feel for Burrow here. Going against 2 great defenses back to back, he's going to get crushed again, I think.
Well, I'm taking Indianapolis to win, but I'm taking Cincinnati to cover, just because I don't think Indianapolis defense is as good as Baltimore's. So I think they're going to get some points on the board.
Yeah, there's no hot takes on this one. I'm just going to go Indianapolis all the way.
All right. That's pretty much all I got to say. I'm going to go with Indianapolis winning and covering.
Next game, Atlanta at Minnesota. Minnesota is giving up 3.5 points. Atlanta's 0-5. Finally got rid of their bum coach. Took them 2 games too many against the 1-4 Vikings.
This is another game I had a bit of a hard time choosing. Minnesota is a bit better than what their record says. Their defense definitely is not that good, and they haven't made too many good decisions, especially the one they made against the Seattle Seahawks, which I know you had a big problem with, right?
Oh, I did. For them to go for it when they could have been up by 8 points, it didn't make any sense for them to. They could have iced it, just like the Raiders could have iced the game.
They did.
Yeah, they did it. But to give a good quarterback like Russell Wilson that much time, there was 2 minutes left in the game. To come back and win the game, that was a mistake.
Yeah. And so for this one, I had a hard time choosing this one. Like I said, I already mentioned my part was Minnesota. For Atlanta, they discovered their coach, and you kind of wonder how teams play after that. Maybe they feel a little bit more free than they do, or maybe they're going to be distraught. Because they did like their coach. I remember they were trying to voice their reason for why they wanted to keep him last year when they weren't doing so well, and then they had a pretty good winning streak after that. But either way, he's gone. And I think they're going to be a little bit more distraught, so I'm going to go with Minnesota to win and cover.
Yeah, I think Atlanta just has to win at some point. So I'm actually going to go with Atlanta winning and covering. Hopefully they can pull a win out.
I have Minnesota winning, but Atlanta covering. Minnesota, you don't know which team's going to show up. They take leads and then give up the win towards the end. And I think Atlanta I don't believe that stuff about them feeling bad for the coach. Um, he caused more losses than wins. Oh, they didn't have any wins. Thank you very much. So I'm going Minnesota and Atlanta to cover. You have Washington at New York Giants next. New York Giants are giving up 3 points. Washington is 1-4. New York Giants are 0-5, but playing not that bad, I guess.
Yeah, they're there. I still think Washington has a pretty decent defense, especially at the front seven. Ryan Kerrigan, he's going to want to play well, especially since he might get traded to a good team with the trade deadline coming up in a few weeks.
Who's going to get traded?
Well, he's not going to, but I think he's going to be a target for some people.
And who's this?
Ryan Kerrigan, he's a defensive end, I think.
Who's the quarterback they got rid of?
Dwayne Haskins. They haven't gotten rid of him
they're
yet.
trying hard.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of him, which I think is just stupid to get rid of someone like Haskins. Like at this point, Ron Rivera just needs to say, "I don't like him," instead of making these excuses that he's not good enough to play right now. He hasn't even played a full season, and you got guys like Kyle Allen and Alex Smith playing for them, which great for Alex Smith to get back onto the football field after that horrific leg injury, but he's still not better right now. He still needs a lot to get back into the game, and you don't even know if he'll even play that much better for the rest of his career.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Washington. I really think with the whole Haskins situation that they should have given him more time. I don't yet, like Steven said, he hasn't played a full season, and I am happy for Alex Smith, especially with everything that happened. But I think Haskins should have got more time. But for this game, I'm gonna pick the Giants to win and cover.
Yeah, I think the timing with Haskins was all really crappy. He had a great game, relatively great game, over 300 yards.
Yeah,
And he got pulled. He played Washington pretty tough. We played Baltimore pretty tough. So to just get rid of him basically, and that's what they want to do. They want to get rid of him. They want to trade him somewhere. Made no sense. Ron Rivera, I thought was a good coach, but the decisions he's made with him are mind-boggling.
And I'll raise a question. Like, what do you think about the whole thing with when a new coach comes into a place with a young quarterback? How some people say, "Oh, well, this quarterback might not make it because the coach wasn't there when they were drafted, so technically, the coach doesn't have to have loyalty towards that quarterback." What do you think? I know we talked about that a few days ago, and remember what you said. Do you remember?
No idea. But I know Ron Rivera, his name is coach, right? That's what he should be doing with the younger quarterbacks, coaching them, teaching them his system, the way he wants to be played. Now, if they got rid of Haskins because he doesn't think he can be taught anything, that's one thing. But to have him start the amount of games he did and show promise, and then get rid of him, it makes no sense. I mean, that's it in a handbasket, I guess.
And it kind of reminds you of the whole thing with when on a different little topic here was when Gruden first came to the Raiders. It was like, oh well, I guess Derek Carr's gone because there's no way they can match each other. They're such different personalities. No way. He's gonna get someone. Everyone always says, oh, he's gonna do this and that. But guess what? He found a way to try to bring him into his system to try to they can do what he wants. And so far, it's worked pretty well. And it's a shame that Rivera hasn't been able to do that for Haskins. Instead, he brought over his backup guy from Carolina over to Washington, and that's just not good for the organization in general. Like their organization is just a complete PR nightmare. So
I think, speaking of Gruden, when he came here, he was talking about needing this, needing that. One of the things he needed most was a pass rush. And what did you do? Trades Mac. Still upset about that. Sorry.
I get you're upset with it, but I think the trade worked out really well now because the pass rush played
We
a
still
lot.
don't have a pass rush.
Well, we had Mahomes running a lot last week. You saw much of that game?
Yeah.
That was more or
Yeah.
less that was a scheme that worked.
Yeah,
It's not going to work every time.
Well, it still worked out though. And plus, we got Josh Jacobs out of it, and he's great. Bears got Mac. I think it's a trade that worked out for both teams really well. And there's still a lot of time for that review to be done on who won the trade. But either way, let's get back to our picks.
Okay, we got Houston at Tennessee. Tennessee is giving up 3 points. Houston is 1-4. Tennessee is 4-0.
All right, so this one I didn't think Tennessee was that great when they were 3-0. Having close games with the Minnesota Vikings and Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought Tennessee wasn't as good as what their record said, and I thought the Bills were going to pounce on them, but no, it was the complete opposite. Bills were just awful against them. Tennessee played a lot better, especially on defense, than I thought they were. They had a similar scheme against Josh Allen than the Raiders had against Patrick Mahomes, which is not blitz much, forced them to make bad decisions, and it worked out great for them. They got a couple picks on him, another turnover on special teams. Great game overall for them, and I'm going to go with Tennessee to win and cover.
Yeah, I have Tennessee winning and covering this one too.
I also have Tennessee winning and covering. Houston is they're really surprising me being 1-4, and actually Tennessee surprised me being 4-0. And the way they played against the Bills on
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Tuesday night football.
yeah, Tuesday night football was really surprising. They pretty much dominated most of the game. So next we have Detroit at Jacksonville. Jacksonville has given up 3.5 points. Detroit is 1-3. Jacksonville is 1-4.
All right, so for this one, I had a hard time choosing, between Detroit and Jacksonville, but I'm gonna go Jacksonville here. I just think Gardner Minshew's gonna try to well out a win, especially with how they've been playing lately. They haven't been playing well, and I think again, having an opportunity against the Detroit Lions, they're gonna take advantage of that, especially with Matt Patricia at coach. He is an awful coach of the Lions. He's another guy whose seat is pretty hot right now. I don't think he's gonna last the whole season. And you see how the record is. Whenever they have a double-digit lead, they don't know how to hold a lead. So even if they jump on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who knows if the Jaguars will be able to make a comeback? I think that something similar will happen. Gardner Minshew will get a comeback in the second half of this one, and go with them to win and cover.
I have Detroit winning and covering this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't want to pick Detroit because I have Jacksonville winning and covering as well. So good luck on that upset. Two crappy teams, not much to say about it.
Yeah.
We have the Jets. Speaking of crappy teams, we got the 0-5 Jets playing the 2-3 Miami Dolphins, who upset the Niners. Not very much of an upset. Killed the Niners. That was very surprising. I thought the Niners were going to do something. They were getting Garoppolo back, and he wasn't ready to come back. Way too early.
Yeah.
They sat him down the second half, and the guy was on at that point anyway. So, your thoughts, Steven?
Well, Miami has actually played a lot better than I expected them to. They are 2-3, but they have been in those games that they've played so far. New England wasn't a pretty one to start off the year, and Fitzpatrick wasn't good against the Seahawks. But for anyone that's looking for a quarterback to stream right now in fantasy, get Ryan Fitzpatrick right now. He's going to get you a lot of points against the New York Jets because they are just going to bomb, especially after just releasing Le'Veon Bell. They're going to have no run game, maybe some passing, although it doesn't look like Sam Darnold's going to be coming back anytime soon with his shoulder injuries. Flacco's going to be out there, and Miami's going to take advantage of that, and their defense should do really well too. I get their defense as well for fantasy, so they're going to kill them.
Yeah, I have Miami winning and covering in this one. I obviously watched the game last week against the Niners, and I was just impressed with how they played overall. And Fitzpatrick, I had them winning last week too, which
Yeah,
unfortunately.
we thought you were crazy for that. Like we all had
Yeah.
them covering, but we were like, oh what? No, you're being too hard on them. But
See, I told you, hot takes.
And the Niners have a very much of an uphill battle the rest of the year.
oh yeah,
They had one of the weakest schedules to start, and they've got one of the toughest schedules to finish with.
they have the toughest schedule the rest of the way through. With like above 700 winning percentage to go against, and I could see them going. What are they now? They're 2-3, so they can easily be 2-10 in their next 7 games.
Yeah, it does not look good. Now, what do you think about the Bell situation?
Oh,
The travesty continues with him.
so for me, like I think the whole thing was just bad in general for Le'Veon Bell's sake because he asked for a lot of money, which a lot of people know that you shouldn't pay a running back a whole lot of money because the running back position can be so disposable or like replaceable,
And
as
the
I should
chance
say.
of injuries with that
Yeah.
position is very high.
So it's like you should never really pay too much for a running back, and he asked for a lot of money, sat out the whole year, which I thought was a complete mistake for him, and he got less money with the Jets. And some people thought, oh, Jets could have a pretty decent offense, that talking about last year, but no, they didn't. They didn't utilize him the right way. That barely gave him any rushes. They didn't use him the way he should have been. Adam Gase is an awful coach, and it shows just how people do after they leave him. Robbie Anderson, he was a wide receiver with the Jets. He's doing really well with the Panthers right now. He's Teddy Bridgewater's number one receiver. And Ryan Tannehill, he was with the Dolphins when Adam Gase was coaching them. And what happened? He's doing really well with the Tennessee Titans. So I think whoever Bell joins, he's going to play a lot better than he did with the Jets. And Gase, I don't know why the New York Jets haven't gotten rid of him yet because he is a cancer for their team.
And do you see any team that could really use him?
Dolphins, they could use another running back. I don't think the Patriots will. Though Belichick, he's the type of guy that will try to reach for someone once he gets the opportunity. So don't be surprised if he goes for him. Some Raider fans have said that they would like him on the team. Someone to make sure Josh Jacobs stays fresh and all, and maybe an eventual replacement for Richard. People love Richard, but they might want someone like Bell since he can catch and block as well. That's something that Gruden loves. He loves running backs that can block. But I personally just don't think I would want him to, especially with how much money would be involved.
Yeah.
So,
I think he'd be pretty great with Tennessee, him joining Henry in the backfield.
yeah, or the Chiefs too. Chiefs don't.
The Chiefs don't need anybody else. They're a damn good team as is.
Yeah, but their running back situation though, they lost Damon Williams, who.
No, they don't need anybody else.
I'm just trying to be an open person.
Okay, I'm not. Anyway, next we have Green Bay at Tampa Bay. Green Bay is 4-0, and Tampa Bay is 3-2. Tampa Bay is getting 1.5 points.
All right, so this one here, I'm going to go with Green Bay on this. They haven't had to go against a good defense yet this season, and Tampa Bay does have a pretty good one. But I just think that Brady and company, they aren't going to be good enough. We don't know if Chris Godwin is going to play. Mike Evans has always looked hurt, and the only reason why he's doing well in fantasy because he's getting a bunch of short touchdowns. Look at him against Denver. He had 2 yards, 2 catches, 2 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Eventually, someone's going to have to solve that riddle right there. And I'm just going to go with Aaron Rodgers. He is just an excellent quarterback, proving me completely wrong about how I thought the Packers were going to do. And I'm going to go with the Packers to win and cover.
Yeah, so I have Green Bay winning, but I actually had Tampa Bay covering only because I feel like both quarterbacks are really good. I think Aaron Rodgers is still going to edge out Brady, but I think it's going to be a really close game, and I just don't think the Tampa Bay is going to win after what happened last week.
So you're telling us that Green Bay will win by 1 point then?
Yes.
If you get this right, I don't know, but something good will happen.
I'm taking Green Bay as well to both win and cover. I think Aaron Rodgers is just thinks he's done this year, and I agree with you, Steven, the fact that no one thought he was going to do as good because they didn't try to shore up his receivers at all. So they have totally surprised me. Next, we have the Rams at San Francisco. San Francisco is getting 3.5 points. Rams are 4-1. San Francisco is 2-3.
So I think last week was the start of a big train wreck that is about to happen for the San Francisco 49ers. I know it's hard for you to hear, but their next 7 games are going to be absolutely brutal. And the Rams, they should do really well against the San Francisco 49ers. They played better than I expected. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the NFC West. It's a really good division, but I just think the Rams are going to be really good. I hope Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee get some points for me in fantasy as I have them in multiple leagues. So I hope both of those guys do really well. Please throw to them, Goff. Stop throwing to Robert Woods for once. But yeah, Rams win and cover.
Yeah. I guess this season, I mean, it's still early, but like both you guys said, the Niners have a really tough schedule for the rest of the way, and I just don't think they're going to beat the Rams. Overall, they need to do a lot better. I think their defense. I think Bosa, without him, they're really struggling. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a really cool dude, but last week you could tell he was still hurting a little bit, but that wasn't everything that was causing the problems. He holds on to the ball way too long, and his footwork wasn't that great, and their offensive line hasn't done that well either. So, yeah, Rams winning and covering.
I'm going with the Rams to win and cover. The Niners, I'm an anti-Niner fan. Um, Being from the Bay Area, I've always been against San Francisco teams. So it's almost like a good time of the year for me because when the Raiders would lose, my only goal was to have the Niners lose as well. So they're going to be losing a lot for the next couple of weeks or months, hopefully, in that case. So, yes, I'm picking the Rams to win and cover mightily.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty rough for them. I'm sorry, Marissa, but there are always bright spots to look for, like observations to make. So, what do you have to say right now?
I mean, I think one of the major bright spots for them has been George Kittle. He signed that big contract in the off season. He's just, I think, the game against the Eagles, I think he had 6 catches, and it was for 183 yards
Yeah,
total.
got me a lot of points there. Thank you, George.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think he's just been consistent for them, and they need to throw more to him. They didn't do that enough in the Miami game. So
No, they didn't cost me. Thank you, George.
George.
Anyway, next game we have KC at Buffalo. Buffalo is getting 3 points. Uh, KC is 4-1, and Buffalo is also 4-1.
If there's one thing Andy Reid does not like, of course, any head coach doesn't like it, but especially Andy Reid, is losing because his team is excellent after a loss. They rarely have losing streaks, and they're going to prove that this week for sure against the Buffalo Bills, who got completely embarrassed by the Tennessee Titans. I already mentioned that Josh Allen did not look good, and his receivers didn't look too good either. They really missed John Brown on the field, and Tre'Davious White also not there for them on defense. Even if they come back, though, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to come back angry, and they're just going to do really well. Mahomes is going to have some fantastic plays looking like a magician. That's all I got to say about it. Kansas City wins and covers.
yeah, I have Kansas City winning and covering as well. I kind of wish I didn't because I kind of wish they would lose. I'm still upset about the Super Bowl, but they're gonna win and cover.
I also have KC winning and covering. Too much firepower, even though they didn't show it all that much. Well, they scored a lot of points, but not when they needed to against the Raiders. The Raiders. You have anything you want to add about that game, Steven?
I kind of want to talk about after we talk about Arizona and Dallas as we go over the bye teams. Speaking of bye, so
You leaving? You going somewhere?
you know,
Then why say bye?
every team.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay, we have Arizona at Dallas. Dallas is giving up 2.5 points. Arizona is 3-2. Dallas 2-3.
So for this one here, Arizona in the beginning of the game against the Jets, it looked like, with Chase Edmonds getting a 29-yard touchdown, which, well, thank you, because I had him in some fantasy leagues. Some people said to get him. I did that. Did a great thing for me. Kenyon Drake is still disappointing, but I feel like they almost had their game a little too close with the Jets. We were watching the game. It was like, what are they doing? Shouldn't they be killing them right now? And they eventually did. They won 30-10 against them, but at times it felt a little too close. And then talking about Dallas here, they're gonna miss Prescott a lot. Andy Dalton, he's still a very serviceable quarterback. He took the Bengals to the playoffs 4 times, and even though he didn't get a playoff win, I think he's very serviceable. But one thing that's going to kill Dallas this week is that he doesn't have Prescott's legs, his mobility, and the Dallas Cowboys also don't have a good O line, so he's going to be running for his life every now and then against Arizona, even though they are missing Chandler Jones for the year. I think Arizona's going to win and cover. Murray's going to have a great game against an awful defense that Dallas has. They allowed the Giants to score 34 on them, so I'm going with Arizona to win and cover.
Yeah, I have Arizona winning and covering for this game.
Okay. All right, Dad, who you
I
got?
also have Arizona winning and covering. One of the things that we're not taking into consideration is Murray. It's only his second year. He played less than 20 games. I think, as a starter. Well, this might be his 21st, 22nd game, whatever it is. He's still a young guy, and when we watch them play, they are a good team, but his youth shows. So the inconsistency they have on offense, I could easily uh, blame that on his inexperience. But I do have them covering being Dallas. So Dalton for the Cowboys, I think he's a serviceable replacement, but he's not going to make that much of a difference. Arizona's got a decent defense, and that's all it's going to take. So the bye teams, we have the Raiders, Chargers, Seahawks, and the Saints.
And speaking of the Raiders, I gotta say we're very sorry, all of us, for going for Kansas City. We still felt right to do so at the time, because the Raiders were coming off some pretty bad losses. We didn't know how they were gonna do without, knowing how Carr is in Arrowhead. We didn't think it was
none of
gonna
us
go
took the
well.
points, huh?
No, neither of us did
Wow.
either. Because Carr is notoriously bad in Arrowhead. He's never thrown more than I think 211 yards
Yeah.
in that stadium, and yet he threw for 347. Easily one of his best career games. He showed a much different. He was a much different person out there on the field, and drafting Henry Ruggs now looks so much better of a decision to make because during draft night I thought CeeDee Lamb was the best receiver to get for the Raiders. And okay, so another way to word it is that CeeDee Lamb might be the best receiver overall out of those three, but Ruggs is the best guy to get for the Raiders because he stretches the field because he is so fast and he runs so far. If you got CeeDee Lamb, then you might have more Carr, throwing dinks and dunks, the checkdowns that he always gets accused of throwing. But with someone like Henry Ruggs, it allows him to stretch the field and spread the defense more, and it allows him to work his way through the offense, and it showed. Derek Carr looked great, throwing multiple bombs. I think he had a big pass to Nelson Aguilar, who again, he's only on a $1 million deal.
Nelson who?
Aguilar.
Aguilar.
He's actually among receivers who have 8 or more targets. Aguilar has a perfect passer rating when he's thrown to, and he had a 59-yard touchdown against Tyrann Mathieu. Then you got Henry Ruggs going to 72 yards to the house. Great touchdown right there. And the defense actually making adjustments as they should have been in their other games, which, I've been calling for Paul Dunn to get fired and all that, but I gotta say they had a good scheme in the second half.
You're shaking your head, Marissa. You don't think he should be fired?
No, I mean, yes. I don't know.
That's how I feel.
Just based on what Steven said, yeah, but he's always complaining about the team.
Yeah, I'm always complaining about defense. I don't think Carr has never had a good defense ever. His defense is never ranked above 20, and so what you got? But I will give props while they should be given. They had a great adjustments. Making sure to not blitz Patrick Mahomes, to stay back, play zone, and also have a spy, which was Arden Key, watching Mahomes his every move in the pocket. And it made Mahomes make decisions he shouldn't have made. KC kept trying to be greedy by throwing deep all the time instead of just getting simple yards, and they made him pay for it. And I really look forward to seeing what the Raiders can do from here on out. Like, a question I want to ask you two is, are they a contender this year? I'm not talking about Super Bowl, but playoffs. Are they a playoff hopeful this year? Because I think they can contend in the playoffs if they can beat a team like the Chiefs, who some people thought could go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to contend.
Which team is going to show up every week? I mean, that's the deciding factor. I mean, Ruggs. Just to go back to what you were talking about, the receivers they have. Ruggs has some great hands, so I totally give him props there. But I'm going to go back to the playoff situation. I know it's out of order, but I wanted to get that in there. Like I said, which team is going to show up? They're going to play some defense one week, not the next. Is Carr going to look like crap one week and not the next? Well, consistency is what you have to have. Any good football team has to have.
And to put some numbers into it, Carr has been consistent all year so far. He hasn't had a single game under a passer rating of 100. He's always been around 100s and 110s and 20s.
Yeah, but you can do that. But what he was doing the previous games is he'd have great passer rating, but they were dinks. They were 5 and 10 yard passes.
No, you can still get a bad pass rating by just doing that, but I he's got he's even when they do lose, you can't even put it on him. It's usually because the defense is bad. And when you say what team is going to show up defensively, I agree with that. But so
Thank
far,
you.
I am not.
You agree
I
with
am
me.
not worried about Carr at all because he's starting to build chemistry with Henry Ruggs. It shows how a lack of a preseason is going to affect the rookies. And now that Ruggs is getting more comfortable out there, Carr's starting to trust him more, and it's going to let him just let it rip. And so I think Carr, he's going to be the reason why this team will keep winning. But the defense is going to have to be more consistent. The defense is where it really lies for me, and also health. Nick Kukowski, he's played great so far. He's going to be an anchor for the defense. Hopefully, Littleton plays well soon. A lot of people question Corey Littleton because he was our biggest acquisition in the offseason, and he hasn't played well. But you got to consider he's going through a way different scheme, and he's also hasn't had a preseason to really work out with the team. So I think he'll be better later on, and hopefully Ken Gunther keep working on these adjustments that he's making.
Got the
throughout
guy
the
you
game.
weren't wanting to get rid of.
Yes,
Okay.
I still hope that he does well. I don't want him to be bad.
And how big was Brown to the offensive line?
Oh,
Getting him back.
It was very big, and hopefully he can just stay healthy. He's a really big guy, and he shows it when he's on the field by just manhandling them. But also another guy to talk about is Colton Miller. He was a bit of a questionable draft pick, 15th overall in 2018. He didn't do so well his rookie year, but he has been better year and year. 2019 he showed a lot of improvement. In 2020, he has got to get some great defensive ends, and he is making sure that he can stand against them. And I'm really impressed with what this O-line can do. And I have a lot of hope for this Raider team in the future, especially since, we mentioned how the Niners have the hardest schedule from here on out. The Raiders have the easiest schedule from here on out, and they need to take advantage of that, and I think they can.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anything you want to say about the other bye teams?
No,
Yeah.
not really.
No, not really.
That's pretty much all we got to say, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's about it.
Larry, our cat? No, he's just sleeping. But either way, hope you enjoyed listening to this. We all had a lot of fun here today. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.